think one of the aspects that I hoped we would go through today was the Good Earthkeeping Award situation, where we have a number of nominees that you've all received a document, a bit of a write-up on them, and we had a chance to look at those and talk about them. And I'd like to get them sort of set up so that we can do an award. And I wonder, Kara, if you would pick up the ball on this and talk about it a little bit here.
Sure. So if you all didn't have a chance to look at your email, the nominees this year were Kite's Nest, which is a nonprofit based in Hudson. Hopefully everybody is familiar with Kite's Nest. If you're not, it's a mission of building the collective capacity of young people to bring about personal transformation, social connection, healing, and systemic change. It's a youth-centered space, and Kite's Nest was nominated by David Newman. And so if anybody has any questions, maybe I'll just go through these and then if anybody...
My only question was, didn't we vote on about 3 or 4 of them last time and approve them?
No, I think we decided that we needed to revise the list, make sure that we had all the...
Maybe let's see.
I think we're doing the vote tonight, Bruce.
Okay.
Is that right?
Can
Mike?
everyone, sorry, Kara,
We actually
can
did do
mute,
a
please?
vote.
Oh, we did? Sorry.
On a couple, and there were a couple we wanted more information on. But I thought we had approved like 3 or 4.
Oh, well, Rick and Sarah and I were all under the impression we had to go through it again. So, so who did we vote on then, Maureen? What do you have?
For the group organization, Kite's Nest was approved. The business category, Message in a Bottle, Redemption Center, that was approved. All were in favor.
Hold.
Plug-in stations online, all were in favor. That was approved. Individual category, Page, all were in favor, none opposed. Kathy and Martin Overington, that was approved. Mark Anthony, that was also approved. In the youth category, the Z Club was tabled, pending further research by the committee, and all were in favor of waiting on that one.
So maybe we had our wires crossed. I apologize. Some of us heard that we had to vote this evening as a final vote. So Message in a Bottle was nominated by a family member, so that is not eligible. And they've been told that the Z Club is an organization that doesn't have sort of it doesn't fit in the category of Good Earthkeeping Awards, although they do lots of good work. It's not affiliated with like kind of the essence of the Good Earthkeeping Awards. So they've been notified. So we have Kite's Nest, Plug-in Stations, Paige Ruan, Kathy and Martin Overington, and Mark and Tinninson. Did I get it right, Bruce?
I don't actually know how to say his last name.
And Tinninson, I think it is. So anyways, it's a tough one. Looks like Anthony meets son. So if we're all approved, then I guess we should just move on. But I know, given, the year that we just came out of and some of the heavy lifting that went into keeping the EMC going forward, and a couple folks that have been really stewards of the EMC. I think Michael has a few words to add.
Yeah. In talking with a few people about this, I think that we had 2 people that kind of retired from the EMC this past year. and this year, Ed Simonson and Terry Mayhew. And I thought we should include kind of a special category for them to give them a bit of a thank you for their many years of thought and work on behalf of the county. That would be a very nice thing to do.
I so move.
I second.
All right. All
I
in
have Bruce
favor?
second.
Yep.
Bruce is second, and who was the first one? I'm sorry.
Daniel Marcus.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll include them in the award go around and make mention of their contributions to the future of Columbia County. All right. So, Kara, are we done with that agenda item?
So it would
We
seem.
have our lineup.
I think if I mean I didn't. The group of us that was sort of managing this didn't understand that it had been voted on. So I'm glad that it's done. I guess we will shoot for an awards ceremony either for July or August. So
Could we do it in person? I mean, is it possible that in July we could do it in person and give them the awards in person?
I think that's optimally what we'd like. So that's kind of why I said July or August, because I think it would be great if we could do it in person. I don't know what the group thinks, or if we'll be meeting in person next month or what.
Well, it's up to the county. Maureen, have you heard anything on plans in that regard?
No, I know that they are cleaning the rooms, and I think they're preparing for that. So I will check back in with them tomorrow, and if I don't have anything new to offer, then I'll be sure to keep on it and keep in touch with you. I'll let everyone know.
Great, thanks. I mean, I'm sure it's just a matter of prep.
That's what I
these
think.
things.
It's just a matter of time.
Because the state has said that you can have in-person meetings, so certainly the city of Hudson has gone that way for city council meetings and such. So I'm sure we'll get to it probably as soon as late August.
Right.
I'll bet.
What about if we met outside? What if we met outside? Would that possible?
Well, I'll bet we won't have to. Now, if we want to, that's another matter.
No, but I was thinking if we could do it in July. I know that Mark is leaving the country sometimes towards the end of the summer. So
okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the situation.
and
demands.
one other question: are we going to notify the winners at this point?
I would just to.
Yes, we are. We'll send out a formal notification.
And a press release, I guess.
Yes,
Mhm.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
you bet.
Great. Okay. I skipped over something that we do normally do in the beginning of the meeting, which is approve last month's minutes, which you have all had distributed to you. Any comments or questions about the minutes? Da-da-da-da. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May.
I make a motion.
Okay, that was
I'll second it.
okay. All right. And anybody voting
Thank you.
not to? Okay, well, then that means we're all in favor. Any discussion about that? Great. Okay, Maureen, motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. And we had, oh, pardon me, getting lost in my screen here. We had on here a couple of notes for the programs that are ongoing in Ancrum and Chatham, the Solarize campaigns. What can we deal with? What can we say about those? Ancrum, I think, was a special request there.
You want to go first, Colleen? Go ahead, Colleen.
Sure, I'll go first. We wrapped up our Solarize campaign on June 1st. We had initially hoped to get 25 registered people and or meters in our community solar, and we ended up with 71.
Whoa!
So, yeah, so we did really well. It was exciting. And I still have people contacting me to find out more information, can we still do it? And we worked with Solstice and they said, yeah, sure. Anyone signing up for solar is a good thing.
What?
So
Right.
How did you attract 71 people? What did you actually do?
So we did, it was shocking because of being, having this restriction of being able to do any in-person type of things. We started it out using our townwide email. So we have a pretty good, robust email list. And I did 2 separate webinars. One, they were actually one a month. So we started in March. I had one in March. I had one in April. And then in May, because it was a little warmer, although the day we chose, it was not very warm, we did like a pop-up tent outside of our town hall and advertised that people could come by and sign up with us. It happened to be, the high was like 40 that day and it was really cold, but we didn't get too many people. But I think we have a really good network as far as our email list and everything. So it worked really well. And what Solstice has done for us, and I know that they'll do this for other municipalities, they actually will give the person who is signing up $100 Visa, card, and then they donate $100 to the town. So it worked out really good. And we're going to put that into either our new heating system for the town hall or another initiative that would have to do with reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So that's our story.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
70. We did relatively the same thing. We didn't get 70.
Well, it was
Colleen,
fertile ground.
Rose up.
Yeah.
You're freezing up
Colleen,
there, Colleen.
quick question, Colleen. That's great. First of all, congratulations. But are you doing this as part of the clean energy communities for high impact actions?
Yes.
And how is it going with the other actions?
It's going well. We actually are also, at the same time, we're doing the LED street light conversion. We just actually benchmarked or actually registered that. So we worked with Central Hudson to convert the 31 streetlights that we have in our town over to LED Cobra heads. And so I just submitted that this week. I submitted all of the stuff for the community. I think it's called like a community action is what it is under the clean energy communities for the Solarize campaign. I did that last month. So I submitted that and we're just waiting to see, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get the $5,000. I don't know. We'll see. So
Great. Good job.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, yes, that is super. Was there anything from Chatham to report on the progress there?
Sure. So Chatham, so I'm not in, I guess I'm kind of like a bystander in this because I'm not in the Chatham Climate Smart Task Force, Climate Smart Committee. It used to be. But in any case, the program goes through the middle of August through probably the 3rd week of August, mostly because there's some events coming up in August. So Krellin Park Day or Krellin Day Park is on the 7th of August, and the Summerfest is coming back on the 14th, I believe it is. So they are extending Solarize at least through then, with an option of extending it beyond that for Chatham area residents. There's two companies that are working in the outreach, and that is Astral Power and Delaware River Solar. And I can't report on what Delaware River Solar is doing. I know I noticed that they're not as active as Astral Power. And we are up to 38 enrollments with determinations from the village buildings and the town buildings forthcoming. So I think the village buildings saves them somewhere around $4,000 a year by subscribing their village accounts, and a pretty nice agreement. It's all consolidated billing moving forward with all of these, so there's no it reduces the confusion over that external bill invoice, if you will. And the solar farms are going live by the end of this month, so very little wait time for folks to start seeing their savings, which is great. It was just it worked out very nicely for Chatham. And then just a quick note to kind of mirror what Colleen said. The kind of activities that are going on around Chatham are, because there hasn't been a lot of public facing stuff, it's been mostly digital, a lot of social media, press release, and articles in the local newspapers. The Columbia paper resulted in several enrollments, article in the Columbia paper. So, and then the task force itself has been reaching out to their followers and their communities of folks to just kind of remind people that this is still going on. So the networking and using the town website seems to be very effective. And having an endpoint to these Solarize campaigns kind of creates that element of urgency. Otherwise, people just don't do anything. So that certainly helps. And one note, the town of Austerlitz has put out for a Solarize campaign. So they've put a request for a proposal due at the end of July.
Great. Okay, anybody else have any comments, questions about the whole Solarize campaign idea? I had some experience when I was in the solar business with doing these things back in those days. Before the advent of community solar really took off, we were doing mostly interactions with people who could have solar on their property, individual households. But I thought it was a very effective way to get people off the dime, because in most situations where you have your own equipment on the premises, it takes people something over a year typically to make a decision about it, and putting them in a room with, inviting people in so they can have all their questions asked and talk to other people about it really helps break the ice and get people encouraged to move in that direction, and if it's appropriate for them. Okay.
Yeah, it really adds trust. It enhances trust. People don't know what to do, who to trust, but if there's
Right.
been some vetting going on, then it takes the guesswork out of the decision.
Exactly. Right. And in those situations, my company and another company were the two that were chosen, and we had different characteristics and strengths. So there was a bit of educating people about the idea of solar for their property, and then a little bit of specific sales pitch on each of our part about kind of a gentle sales pitch about why you might want to go with one or the other of us, because we were selling slightly different products. Okay. Now, climate smart communities. We have, of course, climate smart communities in the various towns individually. which of us has a climate smart community going? I know here in Hudson we do. Who else has got one going on? Pardon me?
Germantown does.
Germantown,
New Lebanon.
New Lebanon.
And
Ghent.
Okay.
Kinder,
All right. Well,
and
what-
Kinder,
Oh
twice.
boy. Well, that's a lot.
Village and the town.
Ah, well, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
So, what's going on in those domains? Do you feel like you're making progress? Do you think you're connecting with got the right people on your team and getting the resources you need?
I'm not on the committee in Germantown, but the chair of that committee was here visiting yesterday, and he felt they were doing really well in getting their inventory information lined up, and they're on the verge of doing a step in the process that I won't be able to describe. Maybe David, you know what it is, where Cornell gets involved, and there's some sort of validation of the work that they've done so far that happens through the university, and but it's a really good group, and they're very active, and it's going rather well, I think.
Great.
yeah, this is Ankram. We are actually working with Kelsey, who I know is on the call, to start getting some of our action items really quantified and organized, because we've actually done probably a lot more than we realized that we did since we've been doing this. So we're just really trying to keep organized and move ahead. So, and I know Kelsey's working hard on that. So with us, and that's with Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Super.
Through Mark, we had 2 Cornell graduate students did a climate vulnerability study for New Lebanon, and they gave their report in the beginning of June, and it was very well received. There were a couple other people aside from the Climate Smart Committee, so that was a very, very good presentation. If people are interested, I could get it. I have a link to a copy if anyone is interested in seeing it. So that, because they basically came to town, well, they didn't come to town, they did most of it remotely, interviewed people in the town about their thoughts on climate vulnerability, and then made some assessments and categorized, and they produced like a 35-40 page report, which was very interesting. So and they, as I said, they presented it to anyone who was interested early in June, so that was a very, very good thing.
Super.
Yeah.
Super. Here in Hudson, we made the bronze category with I think it was 126 points.
Yay!
Because we had done a fair amount in the clean energy community program over the last several years that is also cross-recognized by the Climate Smart program. So there are a lot of values in each one, and if you do one, you're in some cases already doing the other. So we're now regrouping. Our coordinator has moved on to, he was working for the mayor in the city of Hudson. He's moved on to another job. So myself and another person will be helping coordinate a regrouping of the process so that we can do some other good things. So. But it felt good to get up to that first rung in the ladder.
That's great.
So, any other comments on that?
I can report
Yeah.
from. Oh, go ahead, David.
No, you go first, then I'll give a quick county update. Go ahead. Karen.
So, sure. Just the town of Austerlitz just submitted their documents for bronze. And, we were very fortunate to receive a grant to pay for a project coordinator, woman Deanne Veeder, who lives in Austerlitz. And so she has just been really instrumental. Paige, of course, has done a lot of work. We did some pretty interesting things, like we got 25 trees from the DEC called Buffer in a Bag, and planted the trees, and we've done LED street lights. We have a new solar system on the highway garage, on the town garage. And we did our greenhouse gas inventory. That was a heavy lift. But we got some help from Cornell and also CDP, or whatever it's called, Capital District Regional Planning Council. And moving on, we're also looking to work with New Lebanon and Canaan in the Repair Cafe, sort of do a series of repair cafes. So looking forward to that.
All right. I love the repair cafes. They're
Yep.
really a neat function.
Yep.
Okay, David.
Yeah, just a quick update on the county. We have our third or fourth, I think our fourth countywide task force meeting on Thursday. And we are, we've been fortunate to have an intern from Cornell, the same program that Mark, our award winner, comes from. And Mark actually introduced us to Alejandra, who is terrific and working with us remotely from Mexico City and doing a great job. What she's focused on is really a roadmap and looking at all the actions. There have been a significant, like all the towns, a significant number of actions that have been completed or partially completed. And so we're documenting all of that, getting up to speed on where we stand and where there are opportunities for kind of low-hanging fruit. We're also looking strategically at some of the things that we'd like to do that seem to fit with some of the priorities that we've heard from the supervisors that are on the task force. So that's what we're doing there. We'll have a meeting, we'll review that and push that forward on Thursday. So hopefully we can also submit at some point for bronze. And I think that's several months off at least, but we do have a lot of things in the works. Two things of note, I think, for this group. One is it has been requested, and it's a great idea to do a listening session at some point, maybe in September, August or September, convening all of the other climate smart communities in the towns and Hudson throughout the county to get everyone together so we're able to kind of start sharing our knowledge, our collective knowledge and experience from this program, and identify how a county-wide initiative could assist the towns in the work they're doing and kind of helping to create more synergy among the towns. And that's already happening, but so we want to see what we can do there. And then the other big thing we're pushing is we have this opportunity to hire a full-time coordinator at the county level. We've identified funding for it from the Land Conservancy, who's willing to put up money to go directly to the county, and also the group that Paige works with, which is no longer Lifeboats. It's called Partners for Climate Action Hudson Valley. And they're both have both put forward an offer to fund a 2-year position full-time at the county level. And so we're working with the county now to figure out what that looks like and how that might work. And hopefully we'll be continuing to make progress there, and we'll be able to put out a job description and start recruiting for someone. But of course, all of the work that, I mean, like in the towns, all of the work we do as a task force, similar to the EMC, we're an advisory body, right? So these task forces in the towns also, or in the county, they're all advisory bodies. So we can do a lot of work, we can coordinate, and we can make recommendations, but it's going to take the city council or the town board or the board of supervisors to actually approve the actions and the work that goes forward. In some towns, that's easier than others, and there's great progress. So I think the key lesson in all this is we're making progress across the county. I mean, there's incredible work being done, and with some effort, and there's a lot of funding out there, and there'll be more to come. And so with our coordinated effort, we'll be able to raise more money to do more work and push forward and keep climate at the front of our focus as a community, as a county, and in our communities within the county, and really keep it from becoming a partisan issue. I think it's very important that we all talk about these issues and we recognize that This has nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats, and it's really a mistake if we get caught up with turning it into a partisan issue. And I know that people on this call have done great work with that mindset. So anyway, that's my update.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. How about Zero Waste Columbia? John or Kara, do you have anything to contribute about that?
Go ahead, John. You've been to more. I missed a couple meetings, so you're muted, buddy.
You're muted, John.
Some of the same things that we have talked about for pretty much every month. Like Kara and Christian, they're working on their cafes. There's so much overlap between what we're interested in, zero waste, and climate smart. And some of the zero waste stuff, like really getting composting going and reducing landfill recycling. I think everybody finds that they're hard, and so we just spend a lot of time studying and talking. And other than some of the specific initiatives, such as such as the Repair Cafe or the occasional educational programs that we do through the library, such as the composting one or the recycling one for a year ago or whatever it was. Anyway, so we're just sort of progressing in a slow way. I think I'm not clear about how. I know within zero waste, a lot of us are interested in solid waste management and how do we do something constructive. I mentioned to you in an email, Michael, that if we had some common data on what goes to landfill in the county, and it's hard to break it down by town, but emphasizing what happens, what goes to landfill, so that people understand that is the first step. And I don't know to what extent the county solid waste planning folks have actual data, or are going to build sort of that kind of education into the plan. But I think that's something that would be helpful for those of us who are interested in things like composting, to educate people about what's going on, what happens when things go to landfill. And I was up at the Jazz Festival in Saratoga and on Saturday, and I was struck by the trash, the waste receptacles that are all over the grounds for the Performing Arts Center. And there's one thing that says recycle with a hole in it, and then there's another thing with a hole in it that says landfill. And that strikes me as a good thing to have people understand. But the going is slow, but I think that, once the climate smart committees, get going, which is really terrific, I think we'll find more things to do. I know in Claverack, we've been, I should mention, Steffi is making progress with the working with Questar and trying to get composting in schools. So that whole effort is, I think there's like a dozen people that are involved in that now. I can't remember, but it's very encouraging, and that's about it.
Well, great, thank you. David, did you have something to say?
Oops. Yeah, I just had a question for John or anyone else involved in zero waste. We've been in touch with Jolene, the director of solid waste management in the county, and I know that there's a county-wide, or there's a pilot project that she's been organizing for composting drop-off at the municipal waste centers in the county, and she's been away, and I haven't gotten a full update. So the question is, John, or anyone else, do you have more information on kind of where that stands? That seems like maybe a first step, but a potentially significant first step toward that. And then I had a comment, but I'll wait on the comment.
Well, after a month or two ago, the Climate Smart County meeting, I had reached out to Jolene to find out where she's at, because there's some interest in some of the Climate Smart groups to do composting or something. And it's useful to know if something's going to happen at the county. That's important, because anybody can collect some compost, some organics, but what do you do with it? And you can't do one thing without having where it goes and what's going to happen to it, or how do you collect it? And so I reached out to her to see where she was at, and she wrote back and said that she's submitting a grant, and she doesn't know if it's going to be funded, and it could take a couple of years. It might have to get into a cycle of, to wait a year or something. So it's very much up in the air. And sort of my take on that is, if some of us more informally can work on parts of understanding the flow to landfill and organics, then maybe we'll be in a position to help her when she's ready.
Yeah, well, that's helpful, John. That's my impression of where that stands too. And it is a modest first step, but it's good that she's open to exploring that and spending some of her precious time, which, they don't have a large staff. So that's the
Right.
hallmark of our local government, is there's not a lot of capacity to add additional work. And so when we talk about all of these programs, it's about there's additional work. As much as we can apply for funding and get grants, and we all know we're all working in these things in our towns, so there's work that has to be done. And if we're going to really make progress at the county level or in the towns, we need cooperation from the county and the town and the city governments. And so this is a good example of why we need a full-time person to join the county government to help people like Jolene work on grants like that, and help her think about what else exists within the clean energy, climate smart programs, the DEC, Department of State funding, maybe private funding, to help us move forward. So I just want to kind of, again, make it clear that we're hoping that the efforts that we have at the county level are in service of these efforts, both countywide and in the towns, but we need more capacity because it's difficult, right?
Yes, and I should add that Jolene mentioned that she is trying to get an assistant on her staff, which would be pretty important.
So
All
one
right.
more thing, Michael, I'm sorry, I just take a lot of time, but it's really
David,
important.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Is there some way to increase your volume?
I'm sorry, I'm on a phone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little better. Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important that we, and again, I don't want to become partisan in how we approach this, because we're working with Republicans on the Board of Supervisors that are very supportive of climate smart and energy efficiency and EVs. So it's not, fortunately, doesn't need to be a partisan issue here, but we need to send a strong message to our Republican and Democratic and independent elected officials at the town and at the county level as an election comes in November and before that we want the governments to step up and do more work, that this is not something that we can only do through volunteerism in our county, and that there's a very formal and important role for government in shepherding through these programs, and we'll be there to support them. But I think it's very important that we demonstrate that there's public support for what we're doing, and it's not just coming from a few small quarters of the county. Thanks, Michael.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
That's great.
Oswaldo, I'm getting an echo now. Is there something you can do about the sound quality?
Is the speaker not the same as your microphone? Or do you have it separate? Your sound might not be coming out of your headphones.
Well,
on, I'm gonna check here. No, that's headset and everything is all connected there.
The echo isn't coming.
But I'm still getting an echo. Ah.
Christian.
Okay. Oh, much better. Christian, did you have something to say? You have your hand up.
I do, and I don't know whether it's possible with your echo problem, but I briefly comment on what David just brought up. It's a really interesting question as elections approach. And it will be interesting there has been some political demographic changes in the county. And so the strategy you mentioned may have some more possibility than it has in the past. But you might want to be aware as you consider that strategy, perhaps there's a way for you to sound out that demographic change, because the way it has been, and we've had very strong experiences of this, as an election approaches, typically one party blocks any action brought about on behalf of another party as they perceive it, because they don't want the electorate to feel that that party is actually able to do anything. We have had projects blocked for years. And so there's just and I don't have specific advice, but I think it's really important to be aware that one doesn't have a control over whether an issue is perceived as partisan by a party who has this power dynamics very much not only in mind, but is what they have brought about and been living on for decades. So it's a question at what point to move that pressure forward, whether it's before the election, using the election as, as a lever in one way, or is it to go easy through that time, let that go by, and then get going? Because as you say, there is in fact a lot of support on the Board of Supervisors. But those people get pressure to conform to meet the strategies during the election cycle. So I just mentioned it as one thing to have in mind as you decide that's the timing on that strategy. And everything that you've been building is great. And on one hand, I've already heard specifics on reports from other people about two supervisors who have a lot of blocking power and are in that general mode, let's say. They're showing up as being in that general mode. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So it's just a strategy to consider and decide on, because the work on the one hand, it could just get blocked. On the other hand, if it cruises through everything that you're building, the beauty of it is everything you're building and is being built by other people. To watch this momentum and structure and networking really growing life as it has been means it's something that's not really going to depend on that election cycle. Yeah, it's going to go right on through. Once that's over, stuff will continue being put in place. So that's my offering.
Yeah, and I think it's really good advice, Christian, and good observations that there's no reason to escalate these issues into partisan political issues, because there's a lot of support out there. And my point is just getting people, the rank and file constituents, Republicans, Democrats from this part of the county, that part of the county, whatever we can do, not in a partisan way and not tied to the election, but just turning people in their civic engagement, turning people out and getting them involved so that there is a buzz, there is a feeling among elected officials of whatever stripe that people care about these issues, and it's not just a niche thing that a few of us care about. That is always important. Let's not forget about that. That's all. I really appreciate your comments, Christian. Really wise comments.
Mm-hmm. All right. What are we doing in the county health department, Tara?
Hi there. I just wanted to let you know that Jolene Race did just acquire a new deputy administrator, Wendy Madsen, who's from our department, has worked with us for about a year and a half, has accepted the position. I guess they created a civil service title, and it was quite a promotion for her. She's been the person answering our incoming phone lines for the last year and a half, and took the brunt of that. So we wish her well, but our loss is solid waste's gain. So Jolene's going to have some help coming her way. I guess next Tuesday, probably after the holiday, Monday, she'll be starting there. Her last day with us is Thursday. So, and Wendy is from the Austerlitz area. So, and COVID update, we've been doing really well with the numbers being pretty much goose egg for up until today. We got 4 cases. 3 of them are teenagers. Well, one was a 3rd grader, a 15-year-old, and 18-year-old. So now that school is let out and kids are on the move here and there, we're holding our breath because a lot of that population isn't vaccinated. And the other person I think was an adult, and she had a lot of travel. So we're just kind of keeping our fingers crossed. We've stopped doing the mass vaccination pods at this point at the college, just because the numbers started to decline that we were seeing there. And we're still doing the targeted vaccine pods. We're going into camps and vaccinating staff. We're going to Lebanon Valley Speedway for one of their events. So we're going to where people are. Salvation Army, the nurses park in front of their place every I think Tuesday or Wednesday, when a lot of people come to pick up items, and they're getting people that way. So we're still at it where we can. We did have a cluster outbreak of COVID in one of the camps. The kids were not in the camp yet, but the staff had come in with it, and it quickly spread to 7 people. So they had to quarantine them all, and I think that's all pretty much quelled now. So we're keeping on top of it so that we don't end up having an issue again, now that most of the restrictions have been lifted by the governor. So that's the COVID update. The let's see, the rabies stuff, it's the time of year now when we're starting to get a lot of calls, and bats are coming into people's houses with the heat. If there's a maternal colony in the attic and they find a cool air draft, they're going to start trying to find their way into little, holes and places they can. So we're getting increase in calls there, but otherwise, nothing out of the ordinary. We've got another rabies vaccination for pets clinic coming up. It's August 3rd. It's going to be in New Lebanon at the town garage from 4 to 6. And then I think the next one after that is until October, and then there's one more in November. The septic system replacement program I mentioned previously that we're working with DEC on. We're going to be administering that program. It's targeting Copake Lake and Robinson Pond. And it's homeowners with septic systems that are within a couple 100 feet of the lake edge. So it kind of, we have I think it's about 170,000 right now to award to people who, and I guess each individual person can get, I think it's up to $10,000 to help with the cost of replacing a septic system. I don't know how far that's going to go and how many people are going to be interested. I mean, it helps, but when you're that close to a lake, it may require the services of a licensed engineer to design a proper septic system of what you've had there in the ground, which may or may not be working. You don't know. It might be contributing phosphates and things to the lake. So that's why they're trying to target those areas to, but as people send applications in, we're going to be reviewing that and working on that. And I assume we're going to keep getting money and maybe add other water bodies. I'm thinking Kinderhook Lake in the future, Queechee Lake, you know, where there's some older vacation cottages that may now be, you know, year-round residences. They may be in their third or fourth generation of the family, and what's in the ground was in the ground a long time. So it, you know, so that's going on. We are applying for the state's Radon grant again. That program we did a number of years ago now. I can't remember exactly how many, but the county, if you look at the map of New York State, the county is in a high-risk area for radon gas entering homes, particularly on the eastern edge of the county, all the way up that Taconic Berkshire, you know, border. So hopefully we'll get some money and we'll be able to add some people that can be trained to do that, administer that program. And trying to think if that was, I think that was pretty much everything, unless I'm forgetting something. So I'll probably remember something after the fact, but.
Oh, that's perfectly all right. You can pop up again if you need to.
Okay.
Very good. Can people bring their pet bats to be vaccinated?
No, they have pet bats. Don't
Oh,
tell
I'm just
DEC.
joking. No.
I had a father came in the other day. His 8-year-old daughter went to put on her shoe and heard some squeaking. And it was a bat in her shoe. But her father, when he found out what it was, he told her it was a cricket because he didn't want to traumatize her. Luckily, that bat tested negative. So I told him, I said, when she gets to be about 18 years old, you can tell the story. And I said, your secret's safe with me. But
The bat in the shoe. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. We had bats in our crawl space years ago. The parents had little babies, and they're the cutest little things. But I heard them scratching. The place where they were was just above my office here in this room.
Oh.
And I was imagining that one day they were going to keep on scratching and scratching and scratching, and a little hole would appear and a little head would peek out through it. And
Yeah, yeah, they're persistent.
Yes.
But not the time to bat proof now. You have to wait now until like late November when that maternal colony leaves the attic. Because if you do seal it now, you're going to seal
you'll
them
have
in,
a bunch of dead baby bats in there. That's
Yeah.
correct. So we had good support from a animal control person, and we encouraged them one by one to come out, and then sealed up the opening that they had come in. But
well, you can write a book in the hat.
Indeed, or the shoe,
This
as the case may be. All right. So we went through the NRI training update, so I don't know that I needed to put that on the agenda for tonight, but it's kind of left over. I thought the trainings went very well. I sat through one of them, and I thought especially the work on the online version is just such a phenomenal tool that I hope all of you have gotten a chance to at least try it out and see what it can do. It's really quite useful. Okay, that was my agenda for the evening. Is there any other new business that we would like to bring up tonight? So hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Yeah.
I'll
There we go.
second.
Okay, a lot of seconds there. And barring any objection, and hearing none, I think it's time that all of you can all go out to play. You've still got an hour of daylight. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.